Am I the a-hole for leaving my best friend and his friends stranded in an unfamiliar city? So for background, my best friend has gotten into going to these Spartan races. He and a small group of his friends have started going to local ones but recently heard about one in another state they wanted to go to and compete in, but they didn't have anywhere to stay. So they asked me if they could borrow my truck and trailer, I have a tow-behind camper, for the weekend. I said no, I wasn't comfortable with them taking my truck and trailer but that I'd drive them and the camper to their event. We made the 3-hour trip and set everything up in the area where the race was taking place the next day. I have a habit of leaving my keys on a hook next to the door to my bedroom in my camper. Remember this. Come nightfall, I went to take a phone call outside and ended up wandering around the grounds for over an hour. When I got back to the camper, the door was locked, and I was told by my best friend's older friend through the window that there wasn't enough room for me in my trailer. So I reached for my keys to unlock the door, but realized I'd left them inside the camper on the hook in my room. So I called my best friend from outside and all I was told was sorry bro, nothing I can do. So I ended up sleeping in my truck that night, which I had fortunately left unlocked by accident. Their race began at 8 a.m., and at 7, they came meandering out of the trailer and woke me up. No apology, by the way. So while they were in their race, I hooked my truck back up to the trailer, closed and locked everything, and waited until just after they finished and had started walking back to the trailer, think really wide open field. When I saw them coming, I started the truck and drove off the property, with them chasing behind. I made the 3-hour trip back home declining call after call. When I finally got home, I finally took my best friend's call. He started yelling at me, saying why would you do this? We have no way home now. I just said sorry, you shouldn't have made me sleep in my truck after I did you this solid. He told me that there were better ways to handle this than by leaving them in an unfamiliar city with no way home. I think he ended up calling his dad to come and get them. Is he right? Was there a better way to handle this? I felt justified until he said that. I am kinda doubting my decision now. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They're Spartan warriors, right? They should run home. Everyone sucks here. They should not have locked you out. You should not have abandoned them in another state. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Am I the a-hole for taking clients' dogs to the shelter? I work as a dog groomer and I am usually pretty flexible with pickup times. I have this one client though who has been getting later and later with pickup times, and for the past 3 times they have shown up over an hour past closing time to pick up their dogs. The first time they said it was because they forgot, the second time it was because of their kids, and the third an undisclosed emergency. I let it slide all 3 times, but the third time I warned them I wouldn't let it go this next time. Well, the 4th time rolled around and the shop closes. The dogs have been at the shop all day and the owner is nowhere in sight. I sent them a message saying I will give them an extra 15 minutes before I leave and they didn't respond. After 15 minutes I told them the dogs would be at the local shelter, sent the address and the contact details of the woman in charge and took the dogs there. Well, about 2 hours later I get an angry phone call, this woman screaming down the phone because she has to pay to get her dogs back. I think it's like $30, and she wants to know why I took them to a shelter, claiming her dogs are traumatized and I must have abused them during their groom. She slandered me over the internet and left bad reviews. I am not a pet sitter. I gave her multiple chances, but it seems like a lot of people are on her side. You should cut her off as a customer. Everyone sucks here. The appropriate course of action would have been to not accept her as a client anymore. Not to take her dogs to the shelter. You're the a-hole only because you keep grooming her dogs. She should have gotten a warning the first time it happened and a ban from the shop the second time. Am I the a-hole for showing up where my husband was supposed to be? My husband, 42 male, has a boys' night out with his friends every Friday and Saturday, going to the local pub and usually just chats and plays darts with his friends or something. I, 35 female, don't know the specifics of their hangout as I don't really pry into that, nor does he really talk about it to me. I'm usually left in charge to take care of the kids on those days, which can be tiring as they're quite young and don't quite listen at times. I've asked him to maybe reduce his boys' night out to just Saturday or just the weekend in general. We aren't religious, but he hasn't been quite receptive to it, saying that I'm being controlling, clingy, and etc. So I just decided to leave it at that, as whenever I try bringing it up, he just gets all defensive and accusing. It just gets tiring to deal with. This happened around 2 weeks ago, but on Saturday, our daughter fell ill and the medicine I had at the time wasn't helping. So I had to drive to emergency care and called him to come up so he could check on his daughter as he's her favorite parent. He wasn't answering, and all my calls went into voicemail, and I'm gonna admit, I was seriously pissed off. I called him around 15 times or more if I remembered correctly, and once we finally got out of emergency care, which took a while due to there being tons of families there so the waiting was long. When we got home, I asked one of my neighbors that I knew well to watch my kids and drove to the pub that he usually visited with his friends for his night out. Well, when I entered the pub, he wasn't there along with any of his buddies, so I was confused. I tried asking the bartender if he had seen my husband or just any of his friends, but he said no, and just looked as confused as me, and so I just left. He came home a couple hours later, and I questioned him about his location and he just refused to answer and kept saying he was there, and that I was just blind, and started questioning me why I was there in the first place, accusing me of being a controlling witch, etc. I asked him why he didn't answer his phone, and he just said his phone was dead and he didn't have a charger, then just stormed off to our room. Now, he's been silent around me and refusing to talk to me unless I keep pestering him, and now I'm starting to feel like TA, as I think what I did was kinda controlling and I don't want it to seem like I'm doubting him or think he's untrustworthy, but at the same time, he didn't answer my calls at all and just brushed it off. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but why on earth are you still married to this man who treats you like dirt? I don't want it to seem like I'm doubting him or think he's untrustworthy. I mean, you know for a fact that he lied to you about his whereabouts, and probably has been all along, given how confused the bartender looked, and so clearly he is untrustworthy, so why would you care if he thinks that? I will never understand the women on this sub who are perpetually like, my husband lied to me, called me horrible names, and generally treats me like some sort of disgusting thing stuck to the bottom of his shoe, and when I tentatively ask him about it he tells me that I'm trying to control him. I really feel awful that I seem to have hurt his tender feelings and upset him by suggesting that perhaps he might, I don't know, not lie to me, call me names, or treat me like garbage. Clearly I'm an a-hole, right? You're not the a-hole, but dear God, woman, have some self-respect. Your husband is likely cheating on you, and even if he's not, he's certainly not telling you the truth about where he's going or who he's going with, and he doesn't even really care if you figure it out. He's rude to you, calls you names, and expects to do whatever he wants while he ditches you at home every weekend to watch the kids by yourself. What TF kind of a marriage is this? When do you get to have fun? When does he watch the kids? Why are you even with someone who treats you so shabbily? You're the a-hole. You left your sick kid at home to stalk your husband on his night out? Get the frick out. Am I the a-hole for making sexy poses while neighbor kept recording me for no reason? My dad passed away recently and he left me, 26 male, and my sister, 31 female, his house. It's super unkempt, so I've been doing lots of yard work outside in the mornings. I'm out there watering the grass in the mornings and evenings. Every single time I've done this, the neighbor right next door, who's like this older granny, comes out to her porch and straight up watches me without even hiding it. I introduced myself to her once that me and my sister are the new owners after my dad passed, but it was obvious she didn't want to talk. Next thing, she started coming outside with her phone pointing the camera right at me. I'm like, is there a problem? She says there's no problem as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to. I asked her why is she recording me then. Neighbor lady goes, what's the problem with me recording if you're not doing anything wrong? It's so freaking weird, I didn't even know how to respond to the situation. Soon as I finished up to go back inside, she went back to her house too. This happens every single day I'm outside watering the grass. Always the same excuse that she wants to make sure I'm not doing anything else, or if I do it's on camera. So yesterday I got fed up and decided to do something different. When she came out with her phone, I stuck my ass out and put my hand on my hip looking right at her. At first she was like WTF, but then she got really mad when I started wetting myself with the water hose and touching my neck while literally looking directly at her. Was it stupid? Yes, but she put her phone away and started cussing me out for being a pervert. My sister told me later on that she came to the house when I was at work talking about me sexually harassing her, making poses in provocative ways. My sister knows she's a pain in the ass since she probably has nothing better to do with her time. But I still shouldn't have stooped to her level, making her uncomfortable right back. I feel like I'm right on this one, and it wasn't even that bad. Not like I was grabbing my balls or anything, but also can be a dumbass sometimes, so I don't know, you guys tell me. Was I in a hole? Not the a-hole. Call her a pervert right back for filming it. Sounds like she really needs to start minding her own business like the rest of us do. Houses change owners. There's literally nothing wrong or weird about that. Not the a-hole. Call the cops and report her for recording you without your permission. And find out how much a 6-foot stock fence the entire length of the property line on her side would be. And privacy bushes that get really, really tall. Am I the a-hole for no longer buying my stepdaughter 2 cats? I 38 female, my husband Adam 40 male, our daughter Amanda 14 female, and Rosalina 17 female. Amanda has about 15 different pets that are all tank or aquarium pets, and they are very well taken care of. My Amanda absolutely adores her pets. Rosalina just being interested in pets, and we agreed that we would buy her 2 kittens if she gets her grades up, and she did. Amanda had a tournament for tennis that wouldn't be held where we lived, so we would have to travel to it for 1 week for the tournament and for just a small vacation. We asked Rosalina if she wanted to come and she said no. She said since she is staying home, can she have her friends over for a sleepover, and we said yes. At first when we thought Rosalina was gonna come we were gonna get someone to watch Amanda's pets, but since Rosalina was staying home we decided to ask her if she wanted to watch them and that we would pay her for watching them. Rosalina said yes right away for the money because she knows she is getting a lot. Amanda said she had some rules. 1. Leave them in their tanks and cage. 2. Only feed and give them water. 3. None of your friends are allowed in my room and only you are. 4. Make sure to leave my geckos lights on at daytime. 5. Don't disturb them. 6. Check on them and more simple rules. Rosalina said yes and all right to all those rules. So when we got back a week later we asked Rosalina if she fed and gave them water. Rosalina said yes but in nervous kind of voice and her face looked nervous, so we asked again. This time she looked more suspicious and she said yes again. So we checked the cameras in her room and Amanda was livid because she never once entered the room to feed or give them water. Amanda was also more livid when she noticed that Rosalina did go in the room a couple times but no to feed. It was to get her friends to mess with the hamsters and turtles. We were checking in on Rosalina all week and all week she has been saying she was feeding them. Some of Amanda's pets can't even go 3 days without food and water and some when we went to check on them looked hungry. Rosalina finally confessed that she hasn't been feeding them because she didn't feel like it. I got mad and said if you wasn't gonna do it then you should have said that when we asked, because then we would have hired someone else to do it. As punishment we decided we weren't gonna get her cats anymore because if she did this with Amanda's pets then she would most likely do it with her own pets. Rosalina left to her mom's house in tears and saying we were being unfair to her. Her mom and side of the family called us major a-holes. So am I the a-hole for no longer buying my stepdaughter 2 cats? Not the a-hole. She has proven she can't be trusted to properly care for animals. You're the a-hole. Your husband is the a-hole for paying his own 17-year-old daughter to do something for him instead of just using threats and intimidation like a good parent would do. Not the a-hole. However, I will also say that you probably shouldn't have left her as the caretaker of those pets while you guys left. She had only recently taken an interest in having any pets at all. Putting the responsibility of 15 pets on her when she wasn't used to taking care of one was too much. Yes, she shouldn't have agreed to it, but with the list of rules, my guess is she didn't fully grasp how much work it was going to be and was intimidated by it. I also think it was a bad idea to tell someone who's never cared for one cat that they could have 2 kittens. Baby steps. And that is a lot of pets. That being said, it sounds like Amanda manages it, so bravo to her.